So as I thought about letting go, I thought about, well, what is it that gets in the way of us really naturally letting go, right? And well, it's because we're human, right? This human. And so the first thing is to really begin to recognize, even with mindfulness. I love how you shared today about how you weren't even aware even that you were letting go. That I think as we begin to practice and we cultivate this practice over the course of years and years, that letting go becomes a part of our natural process. And so that is this is kind of the invitation, is to know that we're talking about this, we're talking about letting go. And fortunately, we've discovered a way in which to learn to let go. Because I know I've heard that, for years. Well, let it go, let it go. Well, how do you do that? And sometimes we do it by pushing away. Okay, and that's not really letting go, right? In fact, pushing away is a form of like aversion, like I want it to go away because it's uncomfortable, I don't like it, I don't want it anymore. And so we can do this in so many ways, mentally, emotionally, physiologically. We can do these kinds of ways in which what happens is it stays. No amount of pushing away ever can take the place of true letting go and releasing. So it stays and sometimes grows and festers and things like that. Okay. Um, another thing that another reason why we don't why it's hard to let go, okay, is because of our, again, nature, natural, our natural craving, desire, maybe even needs. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about, we often get fixated on wanting. Ooh, okay, directions. Actually, that's a wonderful thing to.
I don't think that's. Oh.
Right. So we have this other kind of natural thing, this craving, desire, um, and often we can get fixated, right, on craving, desiring things. In fact, in um, the form of letting go and detaching, right, can get confusing for people, because what we are desiring could be something really, really healthy for us, right? We might be desiring love and attention and something that's really good and nourishing for ourselves. And so there's nothing wrong with desire, even that desire, that want, that need, right? And this is where it can sometimes get confusing. Okay, it's really our attachment to something, our attachment to anything, like over, well, I'll call it like an over attachment, to where it's somehow um, becomes something that it's the only way that we can experience, or that we think that we can experience joy or fulfillment or something like that, is by by holding on to something or obtaining something. Okay. um so our goal really in even letting go, right, and particularly noticing, so part of our awareness, that we build awareness around noticing, what are we attached to, what are our attachments, um where am I attached? And sometimes this is around people. We have a lot of attachments with people. And again, this confusing part around, well, isn't that healthy to have attachments? Yes, yes. Healthy attachments, when our relationships, particularly with people, when our relationships bring joy, support, fulfillment, those can be really healthy attachments, without a sense of over attachment, that I wouldn't be okay without them. Okay.
Mhm.
Or they must be here. Otherwise, I'm nothing, because that's just not true. Okay. So when we get over attached in that way, we suffer. And of course, we all know that the first noble truth, right, is that, pain is a part of life, you know, suffering is a part of life. This is, and we do suffer when we lose someone who we deeply love, okay, or something. It could be a job, it could be a loved one. So that's pain when we lose. Suffering is when we stay in the belief that it shouldn't have happened, okay, and that we stay in, and we do this, okay. It's I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with the doing it, right, because that's the natural, reaching, grasping, clinging, okay. And so our practice is to notice that, and to notice how that creates suffering. So both this grasping, clinging, holding on to something that has changed, that is already gone, creates undue suffering, maybe lifelong suffering. So our practice is first to be able to see it, to recognize it. We all, there's no one here today that has not lost something or someone important to them. It's just not. I know all of you too. Okay. And you're human and beyond the age of, even a baby, right? Okay, they've lost the comfort of the little, womb that they were growing in. Okay, and they're most sad when they have been released from that. Okay, there's a moment of loss and disconnection, right? So right from birth, we begin letting go, and everything changes. Okay, so our path, really, meditation, what we're our practice is helping us. One is to accept this, to accept that things are changing, okay, to accept and to allow it, okay, to allow it, which when it's painful, right, this is where where now that second part of I don't want to feel the pain, okay, so we might catch ourselves in the pushing away, right, in some form of that. And with mindfulness, meditation, and all of the supportive practices, everything from the teachings, right, our way of growing, and I say growing because it is a process of learning how to meet the pain, the inevitable pain of life, to grow in equanimity, this ability to meet it with wisdom, understanding, right, a sense of even a sense of peace, maybe deep inner peace in knowing that this is actually the way that life truly is. Okay. It is literally inevitable. Okay. And none of us really have any ability to have full control over the forces that are, a part of each of our lives every day. Okay. Even though we try, we can drive safe and we can take care of our bodies and do kinds of things, and yet, you know, that's wonderful and helpful. Again, it helps us, right? So this in no way says don't do those things, okay? Because sometimes we can get really black and white. Oh, well, if we have no control, why do anything, okay, to help ourselves? Well, because it does matter. As long as we're alive, having a healthy vessel, right, to partake in life is wise. It's just plain wise. So we can actually reduce our suffering, right? And so this letting go, this ability to unburden ourselves that we do every day, that we can cultivate every single day. I thought, the first part, the hardest part is even being able to witness our own and other people, by the way. It's very, very hard for us to witness other people's suffering. And I know some of you are witnessing the suffering of other people right now, in your family, very, very close, right? And I wanna also honor that, because it's just as hard to witness our own and to feel our own and be able to tolerate that. And it can be very hard to tolerate others. And sometimes what do we want to do? We want to fix it. We want to make it go away. Okay. So our practice really helps us to meet even the suffering of others, because it's a powerful thing to be able to witness it. I think of that as being the ultimate support, is to be able to be with someone, non-fixing, be a witness, and even a source of, as I kind of shared with you, right, is this idea that we can, the power of all of us gathered today to be able to hold people's suffering. Okay, we aren't necessarily going to fix it, and yet holding it, the ability to be with it, can allow someone's suffering to process through, right? Because everything's changing. If we can just be with it and sometimes really do nothing. I just passed someone in the hallway, and she was sharing her boyfriend had hurt his back, and her back is out, and so on and so forth. And so quickly we want to jump to fixing those things, right? That let's go to the doctor and get your back fixed. And so, I felt the urge to caution around, jumping to a quick fix, right? Because there are things that can actually heal themselves. Okay. And I think that our heart is one of those, right? That when our heart breaks, okay, it will heal if we allow it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can do this, like the witnessing, first of all, with ourselves, but you might apply this to other people, depending on who right now around you you may recognize is suffering the most, either suffering because they're holding on, right? Or they're pushing away. So it could be you or someone else, right? So this beginning, this bringing mindfulness, mindful awareness, the witness, okay? This recognition of this is suffering, okay? And it can come in all kinds of forms, okay? It can be the anxiety, right? Fear, it can be loneliness, stress. It could be physical illness, loss, betrayal, insecurities, right? And when we can see that these things, these have all come and gone throughout. Have we not experienced most of these things from time to time, right? Sometimes they seem to stay, right? And in fact, with mindfulness, we can see what is our role in keeping these things here, because normally these things go, right? I'll even kind of look at they're really probably all natural parts of life. Okay. I remember when I was studying in my doctoral program, they warned us at the beginning, okay? It came with a warning label, right? Be aware, because you will think that you have every disorder, okay, as you learn about it, right? It's true, okay? And it is true, because you do. And I reflect on it, and it was funny at the time. I was like, diagnosed myself with a list this long, right? I've settled on only a couple now, okay? Okay. The list was this long. Now I'm down to like a couple things that are really fitting, okay? But the biggest one, the reason why,
Mhm.
okay, number one is because we're all human. And I believe that that is why. Because when we read these diagnostic categories of mental illness, right? What much of that is a product of, much of it, not all of it, some might be literally genetic, but much of it is around suffering, okay? And so we can identify with, oh my God, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. I'm in all of this, okay? Um, and I've experienced all of this from time to time. And I can look over the course of my life, and sometimes I share these little stories with everyone about not all good story. I mean, none of them are like pleasant stories. Okay, I think I shared one the other day of like when I had intrusive thoughts. You know, with it was like um, a new mom. Okay, a new mom. And so the anxiety that comes with having like to leave your baby and things like that, it activates this like deep sense of like fear and anxiety that something's going to happen. And you can have these intrusive thoughts. Okay. And intrusive thoughts are part of a mental illness. Okay. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going crazy, you know, as I left Lizzie when she was a little baby, little nugget. Okay, I was driving on I-95. I was probably terrified that I was gonna die and be forever separated from her, right? So I had all these intrusive thoughts, okay? That part of being human. Nobody tells you that, by the way, when you have a baby. That, by the way, the first time you get on 95, you're gonna see your whole life go flash before you, and your anxiety is gonna be through the roof. Nobody prepared me. Fortunately, I was in, you know, had a lot of training already. So I recognized it, okay, and did have a moment of, uh-oh, am I going crazy? But then I was able to meet that with, no, this is normal. Okay, so a lot of these experiences, and this is, I think, is the most important thing. It's probably one of the most important things of why I even share all my crazy stories with everyone, because I think it's so important that people understand that they're having so much of the pain and suffering and struggles is just because you're human. Okay, that's all. That's all. Um, so our growing in our ability, and this comes from really multiple teachers. One first, Tara Brock, who brought this awareness to me, and thankfully for her, because she was the one that brought me on the path of mindfulness, was her loving awareness, the teachings of bringing loving awareness. Okay, because I brought lots of harsh critical awareness to myself, okay, prior to those early teachings. But before really Tara, like the teachings from her, I don't think I had much of an ability towards myself, right? With others, I could be much more loving, forgiving, and I don't know, understanding, but not towards myself. So this can be even harder with ourselves, is to bring that loving awareness, right? And I think that that's critical. If we are going to bear witness of our suffering, that's why I begin with like, this is human, followed by how can we be loving and understanding that I'm human, okay? The witnessing is essential in being able to let go, okay? Because when we're pushing away, denying, okay, all the many forms, okay, um, of strategies, quite frankly, to not see, feel, um, we actually make it worse, not intentionally. Okay. So as we grow in our ability to see, and I do want to remind you, cultivating that ability to see with the eyes of love, or at the very least, understanding and compassion, like I'm human. Okay. That. And I know, I mean, I think everyone in here has done some self-compassion training, right? So I think that beginning to maybe take some time to really look at, one, how are we hard on ourselves? Okay. Where am I still stuck? Okay. Wishing or wanting myself to be other than the way I am right now. What can I let go of? Where is it that I can build a sense of just acceptance? Okay. And this could be applied to someone else, right? So maybe you're really stuck on really wanting someone to be different than the way they are. Okay. Not just for you, sometimes for them too. Like I have that with someone right now. Like I really have to wish for them to be different. And I really need to let go of that because I think it's getting in my way of being able to actually be a force, a positive force, right? Because it's getting in the way of me seeing their suffering. Because I want them to be over it. Okay. You know who I'm talking about?
Now, maybe.
Huh? Maybe. Yeah. Many people, right? It could be many people, right? And so again, this is for ourselves or for others. Could we just let go of wanting things to be any other way than the way they are right now? And when we do, we might drop into some of the grief, the sadness about this is how it is. And the grief may come. Can we meet that with, and this is a part of life. Nobody gets through life without losing and grieving, and it is a part of life, just like loving, living, joy, gratitude. Okay. So any thoughts? I'm gonna pause this for a second. I just want to just pause. Zoom. So my second part of our teaching today, let me see the time. Is that clock right?
Five after 12.
Okay, all right. The second part, and I'll go real light with this because we'll do a little more on Tuesday for those who come and attend, are that um, I see this sort of letting go and really being aware of when we're caught, when we're stuck, okay? Whether it's caught in craving, or we're caught in some aversion, pushing away, okay? But we get caught, those are ways we get caught in suffering, and we deepen our suffering, okay? Our practice is really ultimately the way that we can loosen this, we begin to loosen it, and free ourselves from those things. One of the teachings really, and I know you guys hear a lot about setting intentions, right? In Buddhist psychology, there's really kind of two intentions that they talk about. One is a short-term intention, okay? This short-term kind of intention can really be about just becoming more mindfully present, right? So we might, do this like every day, kind of set this intention to just be more mindfully present. So to be more present as we move about our day, and we notice the ways in which we get caught up or reactive, because those are our, I know for me, I start getting like, I can feel all of the like energy and neurochemicals when I get excited, right? And that's like, ooh, I'm wanting, craving, desiring, right? Sometimes in home goods. Okay, dangerous. I can feel it, and I'm like, whoa, 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 Patty. Okay, whoa, why am I here? what is it that I came in here for? Okay. I mean, seriously, like, whoa. And I literally taking that pause. And I know that's a silly thing, but it's true. And the more I practice it in Home Goods or in Target, the more I can practice it in relationships, right? And in relationships where I'm wanting something, desiring something, or I might be more like frustrated and reactive. And I can notice those kinds of habit patterns. And really for me, I can feel it in my body through mindfulness training. I can be like, oh my God, I feel that. What's going on? And I can take that pause, right? Tara calls it like the sacred pause, right? Um, Others call it the wisdom pause or whatever it is. This pause, we hit the pause button. In DBT, we call it stop, right? Take a step back. Just observe what's going on, okay? And when we can do that, we can actually move and make choices from a more a wiser place, quite frankly. Like, what is it that I really need in Home Goods? Okay. I don't need a cart full of stuff because I have a house full of stuff that needs to go out. I could open a Home Goods, okay? I thought about that today, okay? The thought crossed my mind, I'm gonna start a Facebook, Patty's Home Goods,
Yeah.
okay? And then like put all my items on it and people can come shop at my Home Goods, okay? I'm not kidding, I really did think about that today. Coming soon, 2024. So the second one, right? The second pause, okay, besides the sacred pause, which is every day, all the time. We cultivate this ability, okay? And by the way, we don't clobber ourselves over the head and be like, oh my God. Sometimes it takes me in Home Goods to wait until I have a cart full, okay? And I'm like, what? What am I doing? What? I don't have room for this. I don't need this. And then I start unloading. Okay.
You don't walk away and leave the cart there.
I might have done it once.
I know exactly what.
Lucy and I are a lot alike. Okay. So this other intention that they talk about is a longer term intention. For many of you who've done MSC, we have talked about living with a vow. This is in MSC, like this more long-term intention. This is the kind of intention that no matter what happens in my life, no matter what, right, that I'm going to dedicate myself to this, right? The Dalai Lama wakes up in the morning and recites vows. May I be a bridge or a boat for those to cross over the flooded waters. Or may I be medicine for all who are sick. May I be food for the hungry. May I be a lamp for those in the darkness. May I be a guide for those lost on their way. May I offer sustenance and the lamp of awakening for all those beings that I encounter, beings everywhere. As long as earth and sky exist, may I bring benefit to all beings. Okay, so these kinds of vows in Buddhist communities, the bodhisattvas, they take vows, okay? But it's really uncovering like what's the most important thing, right? And I do think it's wise for us to think about that we build a life of intention, that we have something that becomes the compass. And Jack Kornfield calls this like the compass of the heart, okay? This deepest intention, okay? So when we're at this crossroads each day, making decisions, making choices, we can come back to this and be like, is this in the service? of my deepest intention. I love this. Make of yourself a light. It's never too late to start over and set an intention of the heart. It could be as simple as I vow to be kind. By aligning our dedication with our highest intention, we can chart the course of our whole being. And no matter how hard our voyage is, no matter how big the setbacks are, we know where we're headed, okay? And literally every step, right? The Buddha, I'll never forget, right? The Buddha says, if, one toe in the water, right? Like it doesn't take a life of like perfection, of living perfectly, right? But we can take, it's never too late to take this step. I love that. Gives me hope, right? So I'd like to have us sit for some time, maybe, really making a conscious choice right now. If you'd like to sit with just silence, right? Or if you'd like to open up to, if it feels like an opportunity for you in this space to open yourself to witnessing some of the difficulties, the struggles you've had this year, the things that are hard really for you to let go of. Or you could wait, and you certainly wait till Tuesday if you'd like to do the intention setting. But if that feels like most where you are today, you might sit with asking yourself, and maybe you already know. Many of you have done some of these things over and over again. So you have a sense you've arrived already at what your deepest intention is. So you might visit it again, bringing it really more conscious, more to the forefront, and simply sit. Sit with one of these kind of choices, or just be, right? So at the beginning, being still, and how we can just be still, be quiet, be single pointed on our breath. Many choices, but we'll take some time in silence together. Are you both okay online to sit for a few more minutes? Yeah? Okay. Yep. All right. Here we go. And just those of you, you might want to change your posture, position. So definitely check in with your body. Find an easeful, something where you can really allow your body to be at ease, right? As we begin to invite it to be quiet and still, we want to make sure that we're sitting in a way that can support us.